Yeah, my bad.
Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3.
Welcome to the Airport Subcommittee meeting of March 27th, 2025. As we have quorum present for today's meeting, I'd like to call this meeting of the Airport Subcommittee to order. In the room today, Councillor McMeekin and myself. Online, Councillor Pauls, Councillor Kassar, and Councillor Beattie. A reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. And I'd just like to introduce Councillor Wang, who showed up in the nick of time. Thank you, Councillor Wang. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? We'll take a hand vote. I see that that's unanimous. Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda. Councillor Wang and Councillor Kassar, thank you. And again, are there any amendments from the committee members to the agenda?
Chair, can I say
Seeing none.
Chair?
Oh, Councillor Pauls, could you turn on your volume?
Can you hear me?
No.
You can't hear me?
No.
I have me unmute. Can you unmute me?
There's good. We're good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, great. I just want to start off to let my colleagues know that yesterday I went to Carmen's, the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce hosted an incredible event, and I want to congratulate Cole Horncastle for receiving the CEO of the Year award. It was a great event, and I just want to say congratulations to Cole for his great leadership. It was a great event, and I just want to congratulate and let my colleagues know.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. I see Cole is smiling from ear to ear and acknowledges those gracious remarks. Okay, thank you. So again, there is no amendments, so all those in favor to approve the agenda as presented? Everyone, unanimous? Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Not seeing any. We'll move to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. May I please have a mover and seconder to adopt the previous minutes? Councillor Wang and Councillor Pauls, thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Not seeing any. We'll do a hand vote. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. That's carried. Items for information. 7.1, John C. Munro, Hamilton International Airport update. Cole Horncastle, Executive Managing Director for the Hamilton International Airport, is here to provide the committee with a presentation on this item. Welcome, Cole.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for having me. Councillor Pauls, thanks for joining the event last night and the kind words here today. Definitely a shock to be even considered as part of that award, or for that award, and very humble to be accepting it as well. So really appreciate that. But really, it's in my words last night, the overall goal is watching our team succeed, but then watching our city succeed along with our successes here, and that's one of my main accomplishments over the couple of years, that we've invested significant amounts into our capital program here and really making sure we're set up for future success. So again, thanks for joining us last night, and really appreciate the comments. So with that, happy to get into my presentation today thank you. As we pull up the presentation. So the big news from the quarter, obviously, quite a few announcements from the airport in early February that we're extremely happy about. So with that, we were excited to announce our new terminal enhancements, as well as our newest partner order at our February announcement here. First, I just want to acknowledge this could not have happened. These two announcements could not have happened without the commitment from the city on our new 49-year lease. That strategic partnership between our organizations allows Tradeport to invest in this capital-intensive asset at no cost to the Hamilton taxpayers, along with provides our stakeholders with that stability, knowing that Trayport and Vantage are the operators. And, really want to say a big thank you to the city here on that one, because again, without finalizing that lease last September, this wouldn't have happened. So thank you for that. And let's see if I can change the page here. Okay, so getting into a bit more detail from the announcement, and we're going to start with the terminal enhancements here and then work into some of the Porter items. So what I'll do is I'll talk about what's going on at the airport today as we prepare for the first launch of Porter in June, along with additional items that would be occurring for this winter. So first off, in terms of what's happening today and what we can expect for the first phase 1 completion on June 3rd. When we're looking at the terminal enhancements, this is actually a great picture to see on the front of this, because sometimes renderings don't turn out to be, what you think. This is actually very, very close to what it will end up looking like for the John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport, and we're so excited about it. Phase 1 will include getting new departures and arrivals canopies. You'll see a new exterior facade throughout, and you can kind of see the YHM in the background there, just beside the departures area. And then driving into the facility, that facade change actually happens throughout a large portion of the building, coming in with new landscaping. So a really different visual for the passengers coming into the airport. And I think that's just an important comment to make here, is that when we looked at these terminal enhancements, we really focused on that passenger and guest experience here in this phase 1. Along with ensuring a sense of place, which is what we do at all our Vantage airports here. And what that means is it's a very bright and airy feel in the terminal for our passengers, with lots of wood accents and greens that we'll see that really highlight the great conservation areas that we have in the city. So really looking forward to show off what will be the new exterior to the building for passengers coming in. With that, the improvements will definitely continue into the interior of the building. First off, it's going to get a big facelift. We'll be seeing new floors, new walls, some of the wood accent walls, some glass accent walls. In terms of what you're used to in terms of screens and millwork and check-in, those are all being replaced with new state-of-the-art setups, and really part of the value of the Vantage brand here is we're able to work with airports who've done this in the past. So really working with our teams from LaGuardia to take some best-in-class items and work them into Hamilton. And that is, a big part of that is actually working on our digital footprint and what that means for our passengers in terms of the guest experience and screens and information they get. A couple walls are coming down to improve passenger flow in the pre-security and as well as post-security. And then just in general, refreshed floors will just make the space look a lot different than what it was. So can't wait to see that for the first phase being completed on June 3rd, and really look forward to having a couple events before that to allow members of media and likely the ASC to get a sneak peek of this as well, so we get closer to it. So that's phase 1, and we'll talk about Porter in a second as to why June 3rd is important. For phase 2, one of the most exciting things for Hamilton, and as part of this enhancement, is we'll be getting 2 new passenger boarding bridges at the airport for our winter 2025-2026 season. This is incredible news for the airport. First time for us having actual corridors to a boarding bridge at the airport. And I can't stress how excited I am for this, as well as for our community. A lot of people actually was just status quo with the airport and boarding, and they're used to getting on in weather conditions and that, coming off a Sunwing flight in shorts from Veradero and walking through security. This is a game changer for us, and the offerings that we provide, as well as the not only attracting Porter here, but it shows the Canadian landscape that things are changing at this new John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport experience, and something we're very proud of. So those fixed links here are the new corridor fixed links, and the bridge will be in place for this winter, and expected to be in place by November 30th of this year. So very excited on that. moving into our passenger operation. So obviously, with many of you in attendance for this event, what a great day that was, announcing Porter. Not only were we so excited, you could tell the excitement from the Porter team as well there for the event, and specifically working with their president and CEO, Michael DeLuce. He was so complimentary of the airport, but as well as how the Porter product fits in at the airport in itself. When we think about the actual service that will be provided here, Porter is going to be operating out of YHM using their Embraer E195 E2 jets. That's an incredible product for us. It's 132 seats, that aircraft, with no middle seat. So as many of you saw in that aircraft, it's a 2x2 format for the aircraft. That jet actually has capacity or range to fly anywhere in North America on that. So it's an aircraft that has great distance that it can meet the needs of all of our passengers. But in terms of the actual aircraft itself, we really believe that that's a great product for our market based on the number of seats and where it can go. When other carriers operated from the airport, sometimes it had higher seat counts, up to between 180 to 190 on that. And knowing the load factors and historical performance of those, we do believe the 132 seat Embraer is a great fit for our market. Along with their product itself, the Flying Refined model from Porter is already seeing great success in the market from other areas, and we expect that uptick to be the same out of Hamilton. Just to bring your attention to, so part of this is the 2024 update, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but you can see how the actual demand from passengers from the airport, what it can be. So, specifically in 2019, almost 1 million passengers, and in 2023, about three-quarters, about over 800,000 there. So what Porter is doing, coming in and is utilizing a proven market that passengers know they want to fly from Hamilton, and their product along with our terminal enhancements is just something we're so excited for. But that being said, it's really important that we get the news out there for this product, this offering. And we've taken on a significant marketing campaign being led by our Associate Director of Marketing, Communications, and Customer Experience, Colleen Ryan, doing a great job making sure that news gets out there through various media outlets, being either that's social, paid digital, but as well as partnering with many of the organizations that we're all familiar with here: Hamilton Tourism, Invest Hamilton, Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. It's within all of us to make sure that this succeeds and Hamiltonians gravitate to this service. And I really, what the commentary is so far is that Porter has been very happy with the performance to date on the routes, and we're getting into the key booking season here, and we'll just continue to get information from that. So really great information so far from the Porter team and what we've seen to date. And lastly here, just to get into the schedule that we're expecting for the summer. So definitely still have our legacy carrier and WestJet operating up to 7 times per week. That's in place today. Going to Calgary, as well as our Air Canada landline service that's also in service today, operating multiple times daily. But then as well, you can see now the Porter offerings to Halifax, Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary, which will be daily and all operational by June 11th. So we're really excited for that first June 3rd start, which is why the terminal enhancements are tied to that date. And as well, looking forward for those first passengers to get on. A couple of our marketing advertisements here are shown, and that's going to be out into the community here. So one highlighting the airport itself, and one highlighting our new partner Porter. So that's where we're at on the passenger side, and this is where we couldn't be more excited for this, and we really look forward to delivering on the project and welcoming in Porter for the community. We really think this is a very big winner for us and the city of Hamilton. Moving into cargo, first I'll just touch on where we're at and the impacts of potential tariffs that it has on the cargo industry. Our team is monitoring the situation closely. We're in constant communications with our stakeholders on the impacts. And right now, we're at a situation where the industry is in a state of cautiousness based on how volatile the tariff discussions have been. And a big thank you for including me in the tariff roundtable with the mayor earlier this month. That was nice to be a part of. Really, when it comes to the cargo carriers and what we're hearing to date is the actual impacts are not known at this time. But depending on which ones come in, it could definitely have an impact on the types of goods that are moved through the airport. So really, we're in a wait and assess type of situation with what could happen. As of right now, we're not seeing any decrease in capacity from the airport. What we're seeing is about a 1% increase year over year on that, which is still, I think, good news for the airport based on the current environment we're in. But as well, one of the bigger items here being our wide body service from 747s and 777s continuing direct from Asia, likely on to April here, which is great news for the airport. That will be almost a 6-month period of that operating 6 times daily, which is just great news for us, and shows how goods can bypass the United States to actually get into Canada and then be spread out through the Canadian network here. Moving along into some more land development items, it's very important for the airport to ensure we're planning for the future in line with our master plan. And as part of the master plan approval, we talked about this last meeting, we've advanced studies when it comes to key reports needed, key assessments and feasibility studies needed that can be then supported within city plans. The key ones for this year in 2025 are our ground transportation study and stormwater master drainage study. That aligned with the almost complete functional servicing plan really play a big part into how we'll develop land at the airport. So all of those studies are expected to be completed in 2025 with city involvement on all of those plans. And the reason why that's so important is as we get into land development here, and I'll show you a map in a second, we're really down to one parcel of developable land that has servicing today. And that's in our Northeast Airport development, which is already 70% sold out with Latitude. And our most recent announcement, Bill Carson from last October, breaking ground on their 100,000 square foot facility. We're really averaging a development per year. And with that is that final lot in the Northeast land development, and there has been interest on it, once that gets into a long-term land sublease, we're really down to no other desirable parcels or ones that are ready today to be developed. And that's why completion of those plans is so important, because after the Northeast Airport development, and as part of the new lease, the South Airport development is the next step for the airport. That's currently in development today as to how those over 150 acres could be used, and we're finalizing the plan for that. But ensuring servicing and appropriate transportation to that area is in place is extremely important, because we want to make sure as the airport and the city of Hamilton that we're ready to accept developers and aviation entities who want to develop at Hamilton. The other 2 sites, being our West and East Airport, are in the longer term, well, I'd say more moderate term horizon, being 5 to 10 to 15 years on that. So the South Airport, with its potential to be ready in 3 to 5 years, is the most critical for us. Getting into the map here, just to give an idea of the land. I think this is a good visual here. So you can see the purple in the northeast, and you can see the lot 7C being the last airside parcel available there, which is approximately 8 acres remaining. And again, we have had interest on that. We had an LOI that just fell through because of the tariff impacts and uncertainty of the economic future here. But we are expecting that land to be into a long-term sublease in the near future. So when you think of the other parcels, you can see the blue at the bottom. That's the South Airport development, which is now inside the airport boundary as part of the lease negotiations. And that is critical for the next development here at the airport. And like I said, this year we're completing our own study on that to determine what the final design of what that property can look like, as well as then working with the city on finalizing the appropriate plans, which we've already finalized the servicing plan on how it could get there. So it's just a matter of ensuring these items are accelerated within the timelines needed to make sure that that development can be ready. The green and the red, so we'll start with the red being the East Airport development. That land is the land that's restricted by the current radar that's in place today. We've completed the radar assessment. The assessment study concluded that the radar could be moved, but the actual challenge is when it can be moved and how much it costs to move that radar. And so with that is we're working with NAV Canada. However, they're going through a process themselves, which will likely involve a change in technology that they're using for radars. And until they're through that process, which is several years away, we wouldn't understand what a cost would be to potentially move that radar either on site or off site. So with that, until that point, and that's determined, that land is actually not developable until a determination can be made on that radar. So that actually makes the west side of the airport a bit more critical in the moderate to long term when it comes down to it. And, I know, looking at this map, the green can actually probably be a bit more to the north as well with total acreage there and to how it can be developed. But it's a site that today, when it comes to servicing and transportation would definitely be a challenge to get to. You're talking about going up a residential road or building a road on airport property to get to that site. Definitely from that perspective, there's more long-term planning items that need to be considered. But that being said is, once that south airport would be at its capacity, the west is likely the next land parcel that would need to be considered for development. So really, I think this is a great visual here as to where the future development can occur, but really highlighting that land is definitely coming to a point of capacity and really looking for the city's support and accelerating timelines on specifically for the South Airport development there. And moving on into some of our community impacts before signing off here. When it comes to our net zero and ESG initiatives, another strong year at the airport. From a net zero perspective, we installed our first geothermal loop at the airport for our combined service building, which is a great accomplishment. The equipment for that is just being tendered now to then have that building off of natural gas by September of this year, most likely. Also installed a couple EV chargers, and then we had a successful sustainable diesel trial this summer, which will end up being rolled out fully for our diesel equipment for this summer as well. We're still working on waiting for some winter spec sustainable diesel to come out for our larger equipment in the winter, but we do believe that solutions are on the way for that and just monitoring the industry. For this year, in terms of net zero, we continue to implement that plan, and we're doing some design work on further geothermal projects at the airport, including what it would look like for the terminal, as well as what a potential solar, I'll call it a farm or solution could look like for some of our facilities. And also, we've started to transition some of our small fleet to electric vehicles, and working with that on getting several Silverados and Blazers in that are fully electric to help support our operational teams on site. From the social initiatives, we hosted Elevate Aviation, and actually today we're hosting it again. So it's going on as we speak for 2025. But again, focusing on our community here and as well as on our social impacts, providing scholarships to the RCAF. One of my favorite events is planting trees in our community. I always love that one, and working with the Mimbrook Conservation Area. We had a new accessibility plan published during the year. And again, another favorite event with some great photos is the Mount Hope Community Cleanup, which we'll be definitely partaking in again this year. And then lastly, we were really thrilled to have our newest airport fire truck in the Santa Claus Parade. I think the kids really enjoyed that one, and the team able to get the lights going on that one. So that was a great experience, and our team loved it as well. And moving on to the actual collaboration with NAV Canada here to implement new approach and departure procedures into the airport. So we had our engagement session with the community. It was supposed to be in February, then we had the provincial election, so we had to move it into early March. But that was a success where community members were able to come out and see the potential impacts, which are very minimal when it comes to how it impacts our communities, as well as the surrounding communities like Six Nations and Brantford. And overall is we were able to work with all of our community members, sent them the appropriate information, gave them the opportunity to ensure their voices were heard. And now we're moving on. We were happy with the response, and now we'll be moving on to implementation at the airport. We don't expect there to be many impacts or actual complaints from the community as part of this. And with that, that's the end of the update here. And I just want to thank the ASC for letting me walk through that, and look forward to taking any questions.
Well, thank you, Cole. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the comments about our 49-year lease and the excitement of your staff as you bring Porter aboard, as well as your comments about the turbulent times and how it's going to affect trade, with trade, is how it's going to affect our operations. And then the other part that I'm extremely pleased to see is your growth and efforts towards an eco-sustainable airport. Very, very well done. Thanks for sharing that. Are there any questions from people? So we'll go to Councillor Wang first, Councillor McMeekin second, and then we'll go to Councillor Cassar third.
Thank you, Cole. I really appreciate this presentation, and every single year it always seems to get better and better and better, so thank you so much. My questions were actually starting from the very first slide, which talked about the 2025 terminal enhancements, and I made a note, but I thought I heard digital experience for passengers. Did you say that?
Yeah, and in terms of that, it's not like, a digital experience. The way I'm referring to it is just, improved signage to allow for different experience. One example is actually at LaGuardia right now, and we'll use Terminal B as an example. When you get your bag, it doesn't just say baggage belt B. The actual information that's coming up on the screen is based on the situation that's going on at the airport today. So it tells you how long it would wait for a taxi or an Uber or the weather outside. Like, it's actual information that you as a passenger would improve your experience. And so we're working with partners like that have been used at LaGuardia to really utilize that in Hamilton to improve the experience for passengers.
Excellent. So I think at a later date, I'd really like to understand that digital experience a little bit better, having gone through Pearson. And I loved their express, like you can go through security, but then they got rid of it. So I wonder if there's an opportunity for us to think about that client experience where we can almost give insight into different operations to help passengers sort of plan their time a little bit more efficiently, which led me to another question. How is the Air Canada landline service? Is it being utilized? And is what's the uptime on that, and how it's been around for a couple of months now, so I just wanted to get a better sense of how that landline service is working.
Yeah, definitely can take that question. Thank you, Councillor, through the chair. When it comes to the landline service, it's been in place almost a year now. We are approaching that anniversary, which is great for the airport. I think with any new product, it's great to see Air Canada backing it and trying to get those seats filled. I do think there still is some improvements that can be made in terms of market awareness for the product. But I also think that the arrival of Porter to the airport also drives competition for those types of products that we think can actually improve the service as well. When it comes to the landline service right now, as we know, it's operating ground side to ground side. So passengers, though they're checking in Hamilton, they're still having to go through the security screening process at Pearson Airport. We really think the game changer for this product will happen when it can go airside to airside, and you would connect in like a normal connecting flight, just in a bus. And so we are working with them to advocate, both the government and Toronto Pearson, to really accept that type of activity. We're ready to today on that, and I think that's where we'll start to see some real strong performance from the product.
Okay. Chair, I have Recently, we saw the crash at Pearson Airport, which really screwed with their operations. Were there any learnings from that that we can apply here to John C. Munro? Ideally, we never have to have that kind of tragedy or any type of in emergency like that, but I feel like it helped with highlighting and daylighting some of the challenges when it comes to those types of really big crashes and how it might impact operations or how it might impact how we move people about. So what does the industry do in this, and especially since we're so close, we know we saw some of that overflow. So what did we learn from any of that?
Thank you, Councillor, through the chair. Yeah, what a horrific incident at Pearson that day. I'll tell you, my phone rang a couple minutes after it occurred, and we knew what we were in for that day, and we're opening up our EOC. So I'll start off locally and then kind of get into the national perspective of this, because even though airports in Canada might be considered competitors at certain things, we're also a family of airports and do work together, and especially when a situation like that occurs, that definitely happens. But in terms of locally, we have a very strong operational program at Hamilton International Airport, which includes our emergency response plan. I'm so thrilled with the partnerships we have at HPS, our fire and Hamilton Fire and ambulatory teams here. We trial our ERP live every 2 years, and then do a tabletop exercise every alternate year after that, really preparing for multiple different scenarios that could occur at the airport. But even on that day of the diversion event, we did activate our ERP and opened our EOC because of the amount of diversions coming into the airport. And I just want to commend the airport team and all of our stakeholder partners who helped support on that event and that day of. And it's not just who you would think is supporting it. You actually have the likes of Cargojet as well, and DHL actually supporting in these types of situations because of the types of aircraft. And just as an example, we had a 777 British Airways divert to Hamilton International that day. And so, that was not where they're expecting to end up by any means. And just making sure that process for ensuring that they were either going back to Toronto or being disembarked in Hamilton, that we had everything in place for that. And that was a great test of our ERP, as we actually had to bus passengers from where that aircraft was parked over to the terminal for processing and then bus them back to Pearson. So that was quite the operation, and big commend our team for dealing with that, as well as all of our stakeholders. A lot involved to make sure that was a success. In terms of the national outlook for this, we have a Canadian Airport Council that connects all of our airports, and specifically there's an operational subcommittee to it, where when there's larger events, debriefs do occur, or as well reports on findings and what can be improved or what went well, and we're happy to be a part of that network. And on top of the Vantage network, which we also share operational learnings and successes, but all of those combined, it's a great airport community that we can learn from.
Thank you. That was super comprehensive, and it does help with understanding airport operations a little bit better. I think my last question is as it relates to NAVCAN, and I know you did have a public information session. We tried to push it through our own socials, but don't know how many Ward 4 people would have come out to an event like that. So how was the public uptick on that type of open house event that you had?
Yeah, it was, we had a combination of people coming on site, as well as asking questions through the web page we set up on that. And the people who attended were able to, or message, we were able to show them the impacts based on their postal code of what they could see changing in their community on that. I think the biggest piece was that our team, led by Colleen Ryan, engaged with all members of not only our community but surrounding communities to make sure they were aware of the changes that were happening, as well as giving them the opportunity to also come in for more information if needed on that. So in terms of the actual session, we were very happy with the amount of attention it garnered. And like I said, the overall impacts to Hamilton International, we're the last airport in Canada getting these procedures updated. And across Canada, we are not seeing significant impacts based on these changes. So, and overall, it's great for the environment as well, these changes. So I think the positives definitely outweigh the very immaterial potential negatives that could come from it.
Thank you, Councillor Wang, for those questions. We're going to go to Councillor McMeekin.
Oh, I just hit all the buttons. Good. Okay, I hit the right one. Cool. Thanks for your presentation and congratulations on your award. That's always good to bear witness to a little bit of affirmation once in a while. I'm sure you get a lot of crap, so the affirmation is going to help. Some 47 years ago, I was the youngest member of City Council, and I had the privilege of being appointed to the Airport Committee. It wasn't the most happy landing place on council back in those days. The big debate was whether there would be advantages, so the advantages and disadvantages of a private-public partnership. We're just keeping it in this pretty stagnant stage. And fortunately, wisdom prevailed, and we chose the private partnership route. I'm fascinated. When we fly, my wife and I, and if Monroe Airport is an option, we always go do that. Although I've taken Porter into Ottawa many times, so it's good to see that. I'm wondering, because I've seen over those 47 some odd years, passenger carriers come and go, and have even experienced having tickets to go and then having the airline fold. Right, it's never was an experience. So I'm wondering what kind of contract you have with Porter. How long are they in for? And I'm hoping you'll be able to mitigate any anxiety I or anybody else may have around them coming and staying.
Yeah, for sure. And, the airline industry is definitely a volatile industry, right? Seeing our most recent announcement here with Porter was also just a couple weeks before we had the Play announcement of that service stopping in April, right, of this year. So, with that, we had a couple years here, as you can see from the passenger graph, where we had capacity decreases from our carriers after the successive swoop based on decisions that were really out of our control, right? We're talking to carriers all the time, and whether that was Porter or WestJet, Air Canada, as you can see, even them trying with the different bus service here at the airport to really always diversify our product offering at the airport and drive that competition. When it comes to Porter and the new product, we're very confident in its success, but also we really need the community to know it's around, first off, to be able to go and utilize it. So getting the word out for this product is extremely important, and we're very happy working with Norm, Sue, and members of the city's team to make sure that news is spreading the way we need to. And like I said in the presentation, Porter's been very happy with the startup so far. And it's not just on the marketing efforts, it's also the customer experience we provide internally. That's a big deal, and we take a lot of pride in. And so making sure operationally their startup is a success, we take a lot of pride in making sure that they're happy with that. And so far, we've only received great comments and through the startup phase for Porter. So, when it comes to agreements with Porter, they're standard when it comes to what we enter into with all of our carriers here. But initial reactions, how I think you could see from how excited Porter was at the actual announcement event, that they do see the large potential that can happen for Hamilton Airport. And I think from the investments that Vantage is making at the airport to ensure this is a success also shows the commitment from us at Vantage to make sure that product's a success as well.
So we need to get that message out, obviously, so that people who have been stung perhaps over 47 years will, their confidence level would be buoyed. You have a contract, I'm assuming, with Porter. Were there a number of years that they committed to operating?
Like I said, Councillor, so contracts that we would potentially enter into here would be kind of standard for the industry on that. So
Which is what standard for the industry?
city staff, I think those items would be considered confidential in terms of negotiations when it comes to any potential carriers on that. But, what I can say is, again, we're very confident in the service that would be provided by Porter here at the airport, so much that we're making investments in the terminal to improve it.
I'll take the confidentiality pledge. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Councillor McMeekin. We're going to turn our attention to Councillor Kassar on the screen.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Cole, just right off the bat, I'll also take an opportunity to congratulate you on the acknowledgement. Very happy for you. And thank you also for the presentation. I had a couple questions on slide 6, just around passenger operations. So you spoke a little bit to the drastic decline in passenger volume in 2024 and alluded to it there in response to Councillor Meekin. I was wondering, just given the size of the decline, if you could just go through the bullets there you have in the bottom right under the 60% decline, just to explain or elaborate a little bit more on just the relative impact that those factors had on 2024 results, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for the kind words there, Councillor. Really appreciate it. When it comes to that 60% year-over-year decline, definitely multiple factors played into why that happened. First and foremost, we knew the swoop item, the decision from WestJet to roll up that product into the WestJet brand, and then their decisions to further reduce capacity out of Hamilton. That was one of the main drivers for seeing all of these things. And their decision was based on several of those factors that are listed there, which include lack of aircraft availability. So they were using those aircraft at different markets. Their strategy changed to move more out west compared to being out east. We weren't the only airport to see declines when it comes to this. This is a national item when it comes specifically to regional airports. Declines are seeing across the board, even to most recently with Flair reducing their capacity out of Waterloo. So this is not just a Hamilton item, this is a national item. But what I will say is Hamilton felt it more exponentially larger than other airports here. Other items such as impacts on aircraft, Air Transat had unexpected maintenance on its Pratt & Whitney engines that decreased the size of their fleet for last winter and this winter. That's impacting a service that we've normally historically had and been successful at the airport year over year, just due to items that are outside of our control. Also play into just general costs, labor costs. We saw labor unrest the past couple of years with WestJet, different aspects of strikes happening when it came to their flight crews or as their pilots or then their mechanics, which actually impacted the brand itself there. So, when it comes to it, a lot of factors, and then one of the largest ones is the actual impact on Canadians' pocketbooks, right? And the amount of disposable income to spend on flights. And, with all of these things happening here, to know that so far the Porter product that has been put into the market from Hamilton has gotten positive reviews from the Porter team, I think is even, further solidifies that we have the passenger base who wants to fly from Hamilton. It's just a matter of someone providing that consistent, committed service to the airport, which we can't wait for Porter to start.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. That's a really helpful answer. And then, Chair, just one follow-up then, looking forward. So obviously exciting changes with Porter as outlined on the following slide. And we know we're in a very unique environment with travel plans, a lot of Canadians not traveling south. So potentially a lot more opportunity within Canada. So just wondering if you have any read at this point on what that means for travel within Canada, and is there any indirect, something that may not be obvious, indirect impact from travel to the U.S. that, destinations are primarily not in the U.S. out of Hamilton. So do you see any downside with the current situation and upside?
Well, it's a great way to put it, Councillor, because I think you're correct in that there's, with that challenge comes an opportunity, right? And, what we're already seeing in the marketplace, Air Canada and Porter have officially decreased their market or their capacity to certain areas in the United States, such as Florida and Arizona, Las Vegas, and Nevada. In part one, because of what's going on in the political climate. Also, I feel the U.S. dollar is having a big impact as well on that too, outside of just the political situation that's going on. So, yeah, I think the carriers are showing their response to how that occurred. And for this summer, already seeing that our domestic flight schedule is being positively referred to within the Porter team, I think shows a bit of a potential how Canadians are reacting to the situation and where they want to go to spend their money on this. So, I think for the summer period, this is going to be something that has to be monitored throughout. It's a situation that will be very fluid as to how it will look for this winter and where people are traveling, whether it's to, what warm destinations are people going to and getting the most bang for their buck out of it. So what I'll say is the good news is the long range capacity of the Embraer actually has some great capacity to do to locations that could be outside of the US. So that would be a good option as well. But again, we'll wait to see what happens there. I think the challenges do bring up opportunities for us as Canadians and where we want to travel. I heard Vancouver in the summer is pretty good, right? That's it. Hop on a Porter flight. Yeah. I know Vancouver's a nice spot in the summer. Come on.
Yeah.
Are you finished,
Chair,
Councillor Kassar?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be looking forward to those results and seeing how this evolves. Appreciate it. That's all.
Thanks again, Councillor. I'd like to ask if there's anybody else who wants questions. Councillor Pauls.
Thank you. And Cole, we're in good hands with you. CEO of the year, way to go. I just want to, I do take the airport, the Hamilton quite a bit when I fly. Can you tell me what the bridge will look like? You said by November there'll be a bridge. And when I think of a bridge, I think, a pie. And what does it look like? It's going to be in November, right?
Yeah, we're expecting November right now, and don't worry, Councillor, you're not going to have to bungee jump to get to the aircraft or anything like that. But very typical setup here. Right now, we're calling it a temporary setup, but we're going to be installing corridors outside of the terminal that are, you would actually be familiar with if you travel through Pearson. It's a very similar style depending on what terminal you're flying out of there. Those corridors will connect to what's called a fixed link. The fixed link is a piece that will connect from the corridor and start to angle upwards at a slow percentage to get to basically the height of the aircraft that's required. From that's how the actual bridge is connected into that fixed link corridor, and the bridge is the piece that moves to actually connect onto the aircraft when it parks. So, really what you'll be seeing is you'll be loading from the same level at the terminal today, and then walking up at a very reasonable incline.
That's great. I know I talk to friends and people, they love flying from Hamilton. It's so easy, parking is easy, everything is easy about it. And the only thing they always say is when they come from a warm country back, it's really cold and vice versa. So I think this is a great add-on. So, well, congratulations again, and thank you for all what you do.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. And I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Wang while I ask some questions. So thank you. Through the chair, when can we expect a visual on those PBVs so that we actually can see what it looks like?
November 30th. Looks pretty good time, Councillor. We actually don't have a rendering right now of what the bridge will look like in terms of that. But what I'll say to that is it's what you see at other airports it's very similar to what it will look like. So I think what a passenger or a guest is used to at airports that have bridges will be the same experience they have at Hamilton International.
Okay, thank you. I'll do some research and take a look at that online. Just asking some details on Play's final departure. What were the loads like? Can you share with us publicly what were some of the challenges that they faced, and what were the learnings from the airport's point of view with that relationship?
Yep, for sure. Great question on that. So first off, what I'll say is similar to the WestJet decision here, strategic direction at the Play head office did change. So their major shareholder, who is the owner of the company, took over as president and CEO last year. And with that, changed the strategic direction as that company lost approximately $20 million in 2024. So the shift in that business was to focus less on transatlantic travel, which does not make as much yield for them as it would compared to European destinations being flown through their operation. So there definitely was a strategic shift from their company. Hamilton was not the only airport impacted by this. Dulles was also part of the reduction when it comes to Play's transatlantic routes. For us, the Play product started off very strong at the airport. We were really happy with the service. But from that, there was a combination of no lack of effort from what I'll call on our team to, again, bring brand awareness to that product in our community, but as well making sure it was in the appropriate channels for distribution, which we don't always have control of. That's more of a carrier item. And so though we can influence and recommend on how things should be done, not all recommendations were implemented by the carrier to ensure a higher level of success on that. So, what I'll say is we engaged with multiple levels of tourism agencies. We had a great event here last summer with the City of Hamilton team to raise awareness, even had Tourism Iceland here that day to continue with that. So the airport was fully on board and committed to making that product work on it. So, it's just a situation where, unfortunately, outside of our control, items occur that resulted in its in-place ceasing operations.
Thank you very much for that fulsome answer. No chance for them to reconsider now that they see the enthusiasm that Porter's come in with and the extra potential of customers coming to that airport and that being a destination jump off for them?
Councilor, I think that's a great question, but I would actually take that into more of the global sphere. Like it's not just one carrier. It's, we've got now a product that is being recognized in multiple media chains across world aviation forums of this improvement that as this is happening here in Hamilton. So, whether it's a Play or another carrier taking notice as to what's happening at Hamilton International, we do believe these enhancements are just a stepping stone with Porter to other carriers that can improve the service in our community. When it comes to Play, I'll just be we left on great terms with them, making sure the door was left open. They really, and again, talking to Councillor McMeekin's question before, we really pride ourselves on the customer service aspect, not just on the guests, but on our stakeholders, and whether that's cargo or whether that's passenger, making sure that their needs are met, that we're not impacting their operations or impacting them positively. And they only had positive things to say about all of our team, from the operations to marketing, communication support on that. So they had a great experience, which is what we wanted to hear. And so it does leave the door open for a potential another opportunity.
Okay, final question, Chair. In terms of Porter Airlines and their ability to, take on maybe new directions, any southerly looking trips like to the Caribbean or anything like that from Porter?
Again, like to Councillor Kassar's question before, I think the environment we're in right now is so fluid to where carrier schedules can be adjusted to. What I'll say is when I work with the Porter team, they're a very nimble team in terms of how they adjust to situations that can occur to make sure that they're providing guests with an experience that is wanted, based on the demand. Ensuring routes are selected that meets their passengers' needs. So, knowing how Hamilton's history has evolved and routes that were previously operated by Swoop going to Florida or Las Vegas, and knowing the success that they had. We do have historical data that has shown successful routes that can come from Hamilton International. And that's outside of the Caribbean destinations operated by Transat and Sunwing, all very successful operations on this. So, it's really that the Porter team using the information they've got to determine what are the best spots to where you can wear your bathing suit to.
Thank you, Cole. And if I can wrestle that chair back from you, I'll move forward with the meeting. Thank you. Okay, you have some more? Okay, Councillor Wang?
Thank you. Councillor McMeekin and Councillor Kassar started along the same lines of asking about Porter and some of our passenger declines. I think I want to get a little bit in the weeds here. In 2019, we saw almost 1 million passengers coming through the airport. And I know around that time, parking was super tight and it was really, really hard. So if we're with this partnership with Porter or with any other carrier and we get up to 1 million, what's the parking situation going to look like and how are we going to mitigate that? Oh, you turned it off again. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for that. Yes. The chair, thank you for that question. Definitely, yeah, we had some in both 2018 and 2019 had some times, and I'll say very only approximately 4 times where we got into overflow operations, and that happened for about a week period of time. And in each of those instances, it normally happened around long weekends, and that. What I'll say in those instances, operationally, we put in great alternatives for our teams or our passengers at that time, which included free valet service, depending on what the situation was, off-site parking in conjunction with the Warplane Heritage Museum. But what we are seeing is actually a change in passenger behavior, though, as well, when it comes to parking. So the situation from 2018, 2019 has drastically changed when we get into 2025, 2026 here, as more passengers are utilizing Uber ride shares on that, to the point where we now have agreements with Uber, Lyft, and Turo at the airport ourselves, along with more people utilizing rental cars as a potential option as well at the airport. So passenger behaviors have shifted. Also from our end, we've implemented an online reservation system for parking for us to be able to monitor the uptick better as compared to what it was in 2018, 2019. So understanding those passenger flows before they actually happen on this. So, with that is we've got right now, I would say, ample capacity based on the products that are coming through. And then when the demand warrants it, operational or capital investments are made to make sure the experience is what the passenger expects.
Excellent. I'm really glad that you're giving that already some thought, because last night I went to a public information session and they were just really angry about lack of parking in my ward. So it was just parking in general feels like a weird sticking point for a lot of people. So I'm really glad that you're thinking about that. My second question then through you, Chair, is Cole made the mention of the South Airport development and looking for lands that will be in development for 150 acres and in the next 3 to 5 years. So I guess my question is to staff. How are we doing in terms of servicing, and is this feasible? Are we able to meet these timelines?
Through the chair, Ray Kessler, Chief Corporate Real Estate Officer. I don't think we necessarily anticipated that question, Councillor. Certainly, we work very collaboratively with the airport and meet on a very regular basis around that. I think what Cole had highlighted earlier was there is a bit of a transportation and infrastructure study that is just being completed right now. I know a lot of that is focused on the underground infrastructure. But there's also a bunch of work that's being done right now by our growth management group around transportation and transportation planning. And so in that context, certainly we are doing work to try and work and collaborate to ensure that there's some alignment in terms of the timeframes required and what might be coming down from a development pressure perspective.
Okay, I'm thankful for that answer. I would like us to keep pace with how fast the airport is growing. With Cole and at the leadership helm, is presenting a lot of opportunities. So I think that from a city perspective, we ought to be just as nimble as they are. So I would like to see if there's an opportunity to, how do we help accelerate that, get those servicing online to help with that growth and expansion, because in that way, passenger traffic could grow up to a million passengers ideally before the 3 to 5 years. But we need to do our part in order to ensure that we're helping them get that facilitated. Thank you, Chair. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Very observant you are. Let's go to Councillor Beattie.
Thank you, Chair. And can you hear me okay? First of all, just want to confirm.
You are confirmed.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cole, for the great presentation, and to my colleagues for a lot of the great questions pertaining to the passenger aspect of the business. And it's exciting to see the new developments taking place there. I wonder if I could just circle back, Cole, to the cargo side of the business, which I think we can all agree is really the meat and potatoes of what happens at Hamilton is based on cargo. Passenger is great. We hope to expand that, but our bread and butter is on the cargo side. Just at a really high level, I know that the current trade climate, shall we say, and exchange rates, et cetera, that you made note of, maybe put a damper on some of the potential expansion plans or any of the opportunities for the cargo side to grow. But I'm wondering, outside of that, if we were back into, let's say, perfect trade conditions, are there things that you're hearing from potential investors on the cargo side as it relates to, I don't know, any of the infrastructure surrounding or things that would be helpful to try to integrate better the cargo aspect at Hamilton Airport into our tremendous centrality of the road networks, our rail networks, our deep water port. And I kind of frame this from the standpoint that Councillor Huang, Councillor Taddison, and myself were at a conference in Toronto and speaking a lot about the great transportation options that Hamilton has as a kind of a logistics hub, if you will, and how the airport plays an important role. But are there some physical obstructions, or are there things that we could be planning for or doing better that would better allow the competitive advantage that Hamilton already has to even grow if we were to make some small tweaks or refinements here, there, and anywhere? I'm just kind of looking for a high-level statement from you.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, definitely, I agree with your thoughts. I'm a big proponent of our cargo industry in Hamilton. It's our foundation and what we do here. And, we're the third largest cargo airport in all of Canada, the largest overnight freight airport in Canada, and have operations based for major players such as Cargojet, DHL, UPS, Canada Post, and Purolator, along with KF Aerospace setting up their large MRO that also helps support the maintenance of all those aircrafts that are flying into Hamilton. So, really an important aspect of our local economy, but as well as shows how we're part of the global supply chain. When it comes to infrastructure, and that's a very, from a high level perspective, there's a lot to unpack on that one for sure. But, one is us expanding the apron over the last 2 years here with the Gateway expansion and sustainability projects funded through the NTCF. Really from an airfield capacity standpoint, we continue to have the unrestricted airfield access, which our cargo operators love. So they can grow with us today based on the airfield infrastructure we have in place. But that being said, I think it shows the importance of, one, how do employees get to the airport, which we work very hand in hand with the city team on that, and HSR has already improved operations up to the airport over the years. So great to see that, because we do have over 4,700 employees associated with that site, depending on where they're working. But I think it does show the importance of the South Airport development, because when I think about key bottlenecks and people wanting to grow, cargo operators grow with space. And space for their facilities, space for sort facilities or warehouses on that. And with us being at a situation where serviceable land is decreasing to one remaining parcel, Lot 7C, I think that's a big item that we should be focusing on here, ensuring that we have the ability for our partners to expand. Because I'll say when we get the call, it's they need to expand within 6 months to a year to get shovels in the ground, right? And that's how important those types of decisions is, and why it's so important to get them at the airport at the beginning and having that foundational facility so they can continue to grow their operations. I think in terms of ground transportation around the airport, the Highway 6 widening is so important for the airport. It is, we're advocating for that ourselves. Just last week, there was an accident at Book Road and Number 6 that significantly closed down traffic to the airport. That means people are missing their flights. That means goods are not getting on the planes they need. So that people with their Amazon packages coming next day are not getting what they need. So, are not meeting their deadlines. So, when it comes to the impacts of Highway 6, we've documented how much of a concern that is. Our stakeholders have documented a concern as to how much that is, or how much of a concern that is, along with not just the widening, but the actual lighting of the highway as well, and how the operations, a lot of the travel does occur at night. So really focusing on trying to get that project moved forward at the provincial level. We do that importance. But then as well, the city work on the north side of the airport with Dickinson Road, widening that and connecting that directly into Book Road, I think is extremely important for those private held land parcels on the north side of the airport. So continuing with that project, we were lucky enough with the Northeast Airport development to kind of be right at the edge of where the servicing would start. And people are putting in their own sanitary solutions right now until it can be connected in. So they're actually working around some of the infrastructure until it's in place. So, again, and this is not trying to belabor the point, but having servicing ready to these sites, specifically the south, where we've got the most land available for development, is extremely important.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Cole. Really appreciate the feedback on that. No further questions, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Beatty. And I see there's no more questions, so I'm going to ask for a mover and seconder to receive the presentation. Councillor Francis, thank you, and Councillor Cassar. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Looks like it's unanimous. Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Cole. We really appreciate that. And now I think we're moving to a private and confidential. So we now require a motion to go into closed sessions for items 11.1. May I have a mover and a seconder to move into closed session? Councillor Wang and Councillor Meekin. Thank you. Hand vote. Everyone's. Oh, we're going to have an electronic vote. If you're not accessible to electronic, put your thumb up. And it's up now. Councillor Francis has his thumb up. Does that carry?
Councillor Pauls, are you still with us? I'll mark her absent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that carries. Thank you. Guess I'm going to read this whole long part now. Pursuant to Section 9.3, subsection C, J, and K of the city's procedural bylaw 21-021 and Section 239(2), subsection C, J, and K of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for city or a local board purpose, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, or financial information that belongs to the city or a local board and has monetary value or potential monetary value, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the city or local board. We will now require an electronic vote. Please indicate your vote now.
Go on to the next.
Oh, sorry. The vote was carried. Thank you. Members of the public are advised that during the closed session portion of the meeting, the live stream will broadcast a closed session in progress screen. The broadcast will resume when the closed session portion of the meeting is complete. As we are now moving to closed session, I'd ask all members of the public, delegates, and external participants to please now exit the WebEx meeting. As well, any staff that are not directly related to the in-camera items are also asked to exit the WebEx meeting. And also a reminder to the members of council that as per section 8.7 of the procedural bylaw, the use of personal electronic devices during closed meetings is strictly prohibited. However, the use of city electronic devices during closed meetings are limited to text communications only, with the city's electronic devices not being used as a telephone, recording device, or camera. Staff from the office of the city clerk are exempted from the subsection 8.7C when using electronic devices for record-keeping purposes. We're going to end closed now. Could I now ask that all members of the council to Session 14.2 Airport Lease PED 19084J citywide. May I please have a mover and seconder on the following, that the confidential report PED 19084K respecting John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport lease be received for information, and that the report PED 19084K remain confidential. Councillor Wang and Councillor Beatty, we will require an electronic vote. Thumbs up. I forgot to go out of closed.
Carries 5-0.
Okay, carried 5-0, thank you. That vote was carried. There being no further business, the airport subcommittee is now adjourned at 3:07 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, staff.